We're here in the office of Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick today. The Governor just had a press conference about education, but also tax reform is a big issue for you as well.
Yes.
So where does the legislature stand right now on tax reform? Let's talk about that.
Welcome, by the way, Bob, to the Lieutenant Governor's office and our legendary original signatures of all our founders. It overlooks my desk, so it keeps me focused on the sacrifice they made and the fact that we are now in a moment in our own history to be sure that we keep Texas moving in the proper direction. So 100 years from now, the new Texans will have the blessing that we've had to live in this great state. We've been focused on a number of issues, very fast tracking everything this session so far. The senators are working really hard. We have so many new members. 9 out of the 31 senators are freshmen, so they're all fired up, and 8 of those are Republicans. We have new chairmen they're chairman for the first time, many of the senators who were in the Senate but now have that responsibility. And then we have some of our veterans who have new responsibilities. So everyone's coming to work every day ready to tackle big issues and be bold, which is what the people asked us to do. On taxes, we had a press conference last week, and we rolled out a $4.7 billion, nearly a $4.7 billion tax relief package for homeowners and business owners. For business owners, currently, if you're a small business, you have a $1 million exemption. You don't have to pay the tax. We're going to raise that exemption for small business to $4 million, and that's 52% of all the businesses that pay the business tax. So we will wipe them off the business tax rolls. Secondly, for all the businesses above $4 million that are paying the tax, we'll give them a 15% rate cut, and that will be the first step or another step into eliminating the business tax, hopefully over a very short period of time. For homeowners, currently you have a $15,000 home exemption, homestead exemption. It's been that way since the 90s. Well, $15,000 was a bigger percentage of a $65,000 home, 20 years ago. So we're going to make the homestead exemption 25% of whatever the median price of a home is in Texas. That would increase the homeowner's exemption today from $15,000 to over $33,000 immediately, several $100s in savings, and it would adjust with inflation. We're still focusing on appraisal relief or rollback relief so that taxes do not continue to grow because of value. And then education. You just attended our press conference on education. A comprehensive effort. We're focused on school choice, which is really parental choice. We have 297 schools, roughly, a little under 300, that we have rated as a failure in Texas. Of our 8,500 total campuses. So about 300 we rate as a failure, and they've been a failure for 2 years. That's 148,000 students in those failing schools. No child or parent should be stuck in those failing schools. So we're going to do a number of things. We're going to create opportunity school districts so the states can take over failing schools and turn them around. We're going to have, in essence, a parent trigger where parents can become more involved and actually take over the leadership and help direct that school to help turn around certain aspects of that school. We are looking at new teacher evaluation. We're looking at new accountability systems. We are looking at rating all of our schools A through F. Last session I passed a bill rating our districts A through F starting this year. What we'd like to do is every campus A through F. So every parent knows, is my son or daughter in a C school or an A school? Because right now they call it acceptable and unacceptable. Well, is acceptable an A or C minus?
Right.
Is unacceptable an F or a C minus?
Everybody understands A through F.
Your kids are graded that way.
Right.
I mean, otherwise we should give report cards saying acceptable or unacceptable. So that's a big bill for us this session. We'll continue to focus on more legislation on education as we go through this session, but we're doing a lot of things, and obviously the other big issue, Bob, that we have talked about and you focus on is border security. We have put twice the amount of money that the House has put in to secure the border, $800 million. Governor Abbott and I have fought to keep the Guard on the border, and I believe the House agrees to continue them. We do want to eventually draw down our National Guard, but only when we can replace them with new DPS officers.
Right.
And it takes a while to train hundreds of officers through the academy and add those officers. But we've done a better job. The border is not secure. It's still vulnerable to terrorists, the drug cartels, and anyone coming here illegally and all the contraband. But our National Guard, our Rangers, our DPS, our State Guard, they've all done a really good job, and apprehensions are down in some weeks 60% from where they were 9 months ago. And but that's a 24/7, 365-day job. It never quits.
Absolutely. On the issue of school choice, I've heard from feedback from some parents that are concerned, particularly homeschoolers, that accountability, if you get school vouchers, money comes to the parents or it comes to the private schools, the accountability comes with that. How do we keep Common Core and that type of testing away from that process?
Well, first of all, Dan Huberty, Representative Dan Huberty from Kingwood, and myself passed a bill last session that keeps Common Core out of Texas. It's against the law to have Common Core in Texas. It doesn't mean when you have 8,500 schools and 330,000 teachers that you may not have someone doing some things on their own, and the parents have to be watchful of that, but it's against the law to have Common Core in Texas. In terms of homeschoolers, and the Homeschool Coalition, guys, they supported me when I ran for the Senate in '07, about the only group, and again in this election, I cherish our homeschoolers. We're not going to do anything to interfere with them at all. When we talk about school choice, what we're really talking about, Bob, is that, first of all, if your child is in a failing school, the parent should have the choice to go to a charter. If there's not a charter available, to go to another public school that's a quality school. If that's not available, then we start looking at these private options. And we don't have the specific bill yet. There are 3 approaches that we're all working on, and at the end of the day, whatever bill has the most support and the best bill is the one we will move out of the Senate. But what we're focused on is private schools willing to take on these students, and the only requirement for those private schools, the same way with public charters, is yes, they have to be accountable, but that's up to those schools. If the schools don't want to participate, they don't have to participate. But we have a number of private schools that want, the Catholic schools, the Protestant schools, the Jewish schools, other private schools who want to take in these struggling kids, and they're ready to step up. So if you have private school sector who wants to take in these struggling kids, you have parents who want a better school, it's a perfect match.
One final question. I know you've got to go start the session here. Back on border security, the governor's proposed a plan to bring in already qualified peace officers and run them through a short academy and get them out on the streets quickly. That's a great plan. How quickly can we ramp up new classes to bring in additional troopers? Well,
we have 2 classes a year now. You have an automatic attrition. You know, we don't keep every officer. Some retire, some go to work for Houston or Dallas Police Department or Sheriff's Department, some leave. So a number of our troopers, and it depends on the class. Look, it is the DPS has a very rugged 6-month course. I've known some soldiers who have, retired and not have just, gotten out of the service. They went to Afghanistan, Iraq, and they said this was tougher than boot camp for them. So we demand a lot, and so it depends on the year how many make it through. There are usually less than 200 in a year. So if you back that against attrition, and we need at least 500 new officers, it can take several years to increase our force. It's not a matter of money, it's just the personnel. But we do have retired military, and there is a plan that the governor's office, and we're working with the DPS to find a way, people with experience in law enforcement, to get them through a little faster, but we don't want to short circuit this great training that we have. Great. Thank you, Bob, for being here.
Appreciate the time.
This is the People's Office, and you can feel free to take your camera and give them a little glimpse of the office. It's their office.
We could do a selfie here.
Yeah, you do a selfie here. Our presidential signatures, I have the original signature of every president in the United States except Obama and Pope. We're adding to the collection, and some very interesting pieces, and of course all of our founders' original signatures. I love history, and it reminds me of how important every day is. Representing the people. I said in my inauguration speech, Matthew 20:26 says, "For those who offer themselves up for leadership, you must first be a servant," and we're a servant of the people, and I'm a servant of my Savior, but a servant of the people of Texas, and that's what we do every day. I got to get out to the second floor. Thank you.